Welcome to Frequency Matters, the RF and Microwave Update Series. I'm Pat Hindle. I'm here with my co-host Gary LaRude. This episode, we're going to continue our coverage of the February satellite and radio communications issue. It was supposed to get extra distribution at Mobile World Congress, but in a stunning announcement, they're canceling the entire event due to the coronavirus outbreak. So I think it's good that they're doing that, but it's also kind of unprecedented territory here, not having Mobile World Congress. But fear not, it will be distributed at 3 other shows, including satellite. So as a reminder, the cover feature is about 2 brand new array beamforming technologies that promise to solve the 5G millimeter wave challenge. One is by Pivotal Commware about their holographic beamforming technique, and the other is from Antenna Company, and that's about their dielectric resonator antenna arrays. And both of these could offer benefits over traditional arrays, so you can read that article to find out how.
Yeah, really good articles.
So we covered the technical features last time, so how about products?
Well, we have one product feature in this issue from Custom Mimic, which is now part of Qorvo. They have a couple of subharmonic mixers that they've introduced. And the reason for using a subharmonic mixer, basically the LO frequency that you put into the mixer is half what the LO frequency is if you use it to calculate the actual IF frequency versus the RF. And the reason that you might be interested in doing this is the higher in frequency you go, the more difficult it is to get a good LO with low phase noise. So by using a subharmonic mixer, you can get a better LO phase noise performance. So they have actually 2 products that they've introduced. One covers 13 to 21 gigahertz on the RF side. So that means the LO is 6.5 to 10.5 gigahertz. And they have a pretty wide IF from DC to 3 gigahertz. That's available in a die format. The second product goes from 20 to 32 gigahertz for the RF, with 10 to 16 gigahertz for the LO, and the IF has a wide DC to 7 gigahertz. And that product they have both in die form and in a package. So interesting products from them.
Yeah, you did a great job of doing a quick interview with Roger Hall from Qorvo, Paul Blunt from Custom Mimic about the acquisition and integration into Qorvo.
Yeah, it surprised me that Custom Mimic got acquired, not so much that they were an attractive acquisition target, but I didn't expect them to go this quickly.
Yeah, and they're already done.
Yeah, exactly. Shortest time from the announcement of the acquisition to the announcement that it's been done.
And so on the tech brief side, we had 2. We had a 300-watt traveling wave tube amplifiers from DB Control, and they cover from 2 to 6 and 6 to 18 gigahertz. And we also had one from CommAgility, who I haven't heard much about recently. And they have a reference platform for speedy 4G, 5G, and network development. And they're part of the wireless telecom group. So we hope to hear more from them. We always hear from Booten and Noisecom and their recent addition, Haltsworth. So they're very active in all the sectors now.
Definitely.
And so turning to the news, you and I are starting to have briefings from what would have been at Mobile World Congress.
Right.
And to date, so I think the most impressive one so far has been Qualcomm, 2 big announcements. And so the first one was their next generation Snapdragon X60 5G modem to RF system. So it's a complete antenna-to-bit system, and it has a couple of industry firsts. They're using 5-nanometer technology in the baseband, and they're also covering all the key 5G bands, including millimeter wave and TDD and FDD sub-6 gigahertz. So they can handle all the modes and all the frequencies, and even do spectrum aggregation across all these frequencies. So it's going to be a great way to transition to the 5G standalone new radio.
Right.
It also included the release of their 3rd generation millimeter wave modules, and those are now small enough to fit even to the sleekest of phones, whereas before they were a little bit on the bigger side.
Right, a little thicker.
And we did talk to them a little bit more detail, and they said that handset manufacturers can use 3 or 4 modules in a handset and still avoid the grip of death.
Yeah.
So it still is able to transmit and receive millimeter wave, which is a huge accomplishment because to date that's been very difficult to do. And so they had a second announcement. What was that about?
Yeah, so that's what they call ultra SAW. So it's a SAW technology that covers 600 megahertz up to 2.7 gigahertz. They claim that their proprietary process gives lower insertion loss because the actual piezoelectric layer is thinner and it's mounted to a silicon wafer, high resistivity silicon. So there are several things embedded in that. From their discussion, we understand that most of the loss, insertion loss in a SAW filter, actually comes from the piezoelectric material. So by making it thinner, you reduce the loss. By putting the silicon substrate behind it, you have the opportunity to do packaging wafer scale packaging, but you also have higher power handling capability from the device. And I was surprised to hear, and I think they were surprised to see that it was actually higher power handling than the BAW technology. So it's something that they're going to obviously use in their RF front ends. The other surprise for me is they said they're going to sell these filters discreetly as well. I suspect most of their focus initially will be on the handset market, but we could end up seeing some of these, particularly with the power handling, in small cell systems.
Yeah, and I thought the other advantage too is it has a path forward to integration. Currently you can only do one filter on one die, but this technology will enable them to do multiple filters on a single die to really reduce the footprint for future designs.
Exactly, and with more and more radio bands out there, that's really important.
Yeah, the filter has become the critical thing. There's just so many of them in these handsets.
Exactly, and in our call, they were really bullish about their solution. In fact, it reminded me a little bit of Analog Devices. They're talking bits to antenna.
Correct. And so turning to events, of course, with Mobile World Congress canceled, we're still going to cover the news and announcements that would have come out from Mobile World Congress 2020. And I think we had a great idea. We're going to develop an article called What You Would Have Seen at Mobile World Congress 2020. So you won't miss anything. We'll correlate all this briefings and all this product information into a nice article that everyone can see. The only thing you'll be missing is the food and wine that you would have had in Barcelona.
Which is a big miss.
It is a big miss.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate that that happened. Of course, we feel really bad about all the people in China, those who are ill, those who have died. I've been sending some notes to colleagues in China hoping that everything is okay, but I think we're going to see ripples from this for months.
Definitely.
So I think that wraps up this episode. We want to thank you for watching, and we want to thank our sponsors for this episode, RFMW, a pure play RF and microwave distributor. I like their tagline, "It's who we are, it's what we do." Our other sponsor, you mentioned Wireless Telecom Group. They're sponsoring this episode, and they have their test and measurement segment, which has Booten, Noisecom, and now Holsworth. They recently completed that acquisition. And then more on the infrastructure side, they have COM, Agility, and Microlab. So look for them, and we appreciate their sponsorship. Again, thanks for watching. Until next time.